Hello everyone, welcome back to the homestead. I was not able to get a video up last week and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to this week either because I am really tired. I was up at 4:30 this morning to get Kip out the door by 5 with food for the day packed. He's going on a long work job doing some electrical work, and then Josh had to be out by 5:40 to go off to work with lunch packed. So I was able to prepare some of it last night, but still had to put everything together early this morning. So I was tired. Esther woke up pretty shortly after I did, and she's always a great help in the morning. So thankfully I've been collecting some video clips over the last week or so of dahlias because it is dahlia season and we're really enjoying them. So I thought I'd go ahead and make the video today highlighting some of the dahlias in our gardens. And then I have a couple little garden tips to share at the end of the video. But first, a quick little tip from our breakfast this morning. Actually, I was thankful to have a loaf of sourdough einkorn bread so that I could make some French toast. So quick and easy breakfast. And I don't know about you, but when I make French toast, I don't like to run out of the egg mixture for dipping the bread in. And so I try to make a little bit extra, but then I don't like to waste it at the end. So today I used a little bit of extra milk and egg and cinnamon mixture to make kind of like crepes. I just added a pinch of salt and a little bit of coconut sugar to it. It turned out to be sort of like crepes. And Abby really enjoyed them. She wanted seconds. So anyway, no more wasting the extra egg and milk mixture from French toast.
We have about a dozen dahlia varieties in bloom right now. The first two are very similar. The first one, My Forever, has more peachy in it, and the next one, Daydreamer, has more yellow.
Yeah, they're both very beautiful. I think I like My Forever just a little bit better. It's got just a really neat color combination. But Daydreamer is beautiful as well. The next one's called Melody Dora. It's one that we've grown the longest, about 4 years now. So it produces really good tubers and is pretty hardy. It doesn't need a lot of staking, and it's got some really awesome color combinations. Beautiful one. We really enjoy that.
Next one is Chewy, which is one of our favorites. It's kind of a peachy dahlia, but it has some purple in the center.
Yeah, and that one did really well as far as producing more tubers last year. This year we don't have it in the best location, but it's still doing well and we're enjoying it a lot. The next variety is by far the most abundant producer that we have for dahlias. It's called Le Baron, and we actually got the tubers at Costco and have been growing them for years as well, and it does amazing. It produces tons and tons of blooms. It's usually the first one to bloom. And it's just amazing. It's a really deep, beautiful purple color. And sometimes we do get single petals. Most of them are multi-petaled though, and it's either way, it's a really beautiful one.
The next one is Cornell Bronze. It's a vol variety and it has a little bit more orange.
Yeah, similar in shape and size as Chewy, and does have some peach color to it like the Chewy, but it is more orange. The next variety is called Cordessa, and it is also a variety that we got at Costco that same year, a few years ago. It's done really well for us. It's not our favorite variety. It's still really pretty though.
It does have a little bit of troubles with the bugs. It gets attacked by the bugs often.
Yeah, some of them are more susceptible to bugs than other, and I'm not sure if it's just the variety or if it's where we located them in the garden. It seems like the ones that have the most bug issues are the ones that are on the edges of the garden, where the most bug pressure is coming in, but who knows? We're still learning.
The next one is Zippity Doodah, which is a tiny little purple one. It's super fun and Abby really likes it as well.
Yeah, it's perfect for Abby's little hand. The next variety is called Strawberries and Cream, and it is right up there with our favorites, I would say. Wouldn't you? It's an abundant producer, not quite as abundant as Le Baron, but it still produces a lot of flowers. We haven't had to stake it at all, so it stands up by itself, which is a huge plus in my mind. And there's so much variation to each of the flowers. They're all unique. They've got kind of similar colors, but the design of the colors is all unique. It's really fun.
And some of the flowers are lighter and some are darker.
Yeah, so it gives a lot of interest to bouquets. You can kind of use them in lots of different varieties of bouquets. Yeah. The next variety is called Innocence. It's a really pale pink, almost white, and it's super stunning in a vase. I really like this one. It's not as productive, doesn't give as many blooms, at least not yet. Maybe it will get there. It definitely has to be staked because it gets really tall, but it's a lovely one.
The last ones we're going to show you today is a variety we started from seed. It's called Bee's Choice.
Yeah, that was a gift from one of our viewers.
Thank you again for those.
So they've been super abundant, and a bonus about them is they stand upright nice and tall without any staking. When you plant dahlias from seed, you don't really know exactly what you're going to get, whereas when you plant them from a tuber, you know what variety you're going to get. So it was really fun to just be surprised, huh?
Yeah.
I was amazed how quickly they grow from seed.
They're mostly all single petal. One looks like your favorite a lot, called Apple Blossom. And the other ones are burgundy with little bits of pink and white and stuff.
Yeah, very beautiful. I was super excited to see that one of them looks like Apple Blossom, because the tubers that I saved from last year from our Apple Blossom didn't save really well, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get anything from them. And they are just starting to bloom as well. I just noticed that yesterday. So now we'll have plenty of Apple Blossom, which is exciting.
Yep.
Alright, so I think that's it for the dahlias. There are a few varieties that have not started blooming yet, I think. Or we may have missed the blooms actually on a couple as well. Yeah. So we're waiting for more blooms. So now our afternoon is going to be filled with a big project. So here's what we're going to be doing all afternoon. We've got 20 quarts of tomatoes that have been piling up in our freezer. I'm thankful that we did get a little bit bigger one for this summer, but it's still fairly small. So between the tomatoes and our 3 gallons of milk a day, there wasn't much room in our freezer for anything else. So we pulled out all the tomatoes this morning, and that's what we're going to be working on all afternoon, is making some passata sauce and maybe some marinara. We would share the process with you all, but we're still quite beginners. And so maybe after a few more rounds of making it, we'll be able to share the process and our recipe. I know a lot of you out there are interested in canning or do canning yourself, and that would be a fun thing to share. So now our freezer has room for the raspberries that are just starting to come on, and we've been harvesting them every other day, and they're starting to pick up speed, so probably we're gonna have to start harvesting every day soon. And we're gonna do just like we did with the tomatoes. We'll put them in the freezer, and then once we have several bags full, we'll pull them out and make raspberry jam. Alright, real quick before we go, I have a couple gardening tips I wanted to share. One is completely new to me. I did an experiment just this year for the first time. I planted lettuce under our tomato plants, and it's been through the hottest season. So planted them in July, and it's now August, and I tasted them for the first time, and there's no bitterness. Not bitter at all. So good. So the variety I grew is called Sandy. Unfortunately, we have a mama hen and her babies that keep getting in, and they scratched up a bunch of the lettuce that we had in the bed. But there is a little bit left. I'm really excited to have lettuce in the hottest part of our summer that it's not bitter. So again, the variety is called Sandy, and I believe I got the seed from Berlin Seed Company. It might be available other places as well. Okay, another quick tip, something else I've tried for the first time this year, is preserving parsley by blending it up with olive oil and putting it in the freezer. I've grown parsley for years now, and we use a little bit fresh, but then I always feel bad because most of it goes to waste, and I don't have a way to really preserve it well, because drying parsley, it just loses a lot of its flavor, and I don't have a freeze dryer and don't plan on getting one. Our off-grid power would not support it anyway. So being able to just blend it up with a little bit of olive oil was super quick and easy, and I just laid it flat in Ziploc bags in the freezer so I can just open it up, pull off a chunk when I need it, and I think we're probably going to use it mostly for salmon patties and tuna salad, that kind of thing. So I'm excited about that. Alright, and last but not least is the question of squash bugs. We get asked a lot, what do you do about squash bugs and boreworms for squash? And so one of the big things that we found is the variety makes a big difference. 3 of the best varieties we've grown so far are Zucchino rampicante, which can be used as a fresh summer squash or left on the vine to become like a winter squash. And what that one does is as the boerworms attack it, if you let it grow along the ground here and there, it will reroot into the ground and basically produce a whole new plant, which is amazing. And then that new plant will just take off and start growing and producing, even though the original plant has totally died. And then another variety that we really like is called early prolific straight neck. And then just butternut squash. Those have all done the best for us. A couple other things we've done with that is to plant them really early in the season, and sometimes you'll miss the squash spores, or really late in the season. I don't think we've ever been able to miss the squash bugs. They are pretty much with us from early to late. But the squash spores do seem to have a shorter season, and so the early prolific straight neck can be planted really early, and then on the other end plant it really late. We just planted some few weeks ago and they're really doing great now. We haven't seen any boerworms yet. Something I hope to try in the future is to actually plant a Hubbard variety. I've heard that that can work as a trap for the bugs. So I did have a variety that's closely related to Hubbard. It's not a Hubbard, and I planted it with some of our other squash. It looks like it is working. I did see a little bit of boerworm damage on one of those. So I think the boerworms are still out, but not as abundantly. And that variety is helping to attract the boerworms away from our other squash. And lastly, we've tried putting foil around the base of our squash plants, just around the stem, and I think that helps a little. It's not foolproof, but it can help deter the boerworm from laying its eggs down at the base of the stem. So that's another thing to try. And other than that, we just squish a lot of squash bugs and eggs, like by the thousands. It feels like, huh?
Yeah.
Almost daily we're out there just squishing. What we do is we cut off the dead leaves, put them on the ground and stomp all over all the bugs that are all over them.
Yeah.
And then pull the eggs off by hand and squish those. So yeah, squash bugs are a never-ending battle, just like the weeds.
Yeah.
Well guys, before we go, Esther has a thank you to give.
Thank you, Susan, for the yarn.
Thanks for joining us on the homestead again today. Thank you as always to our patrons who make these videos possible. We really appreciate you guys. And thank you to all of the others who supported through PayPal and gifts to our P.O. Box. And just thank you to all of you, even those who comment regularly and share our videos. We really appreciate it. Until next time, we pray blessings over you and yours. And whatever you do, do it with your whole heart.